With the new millennium underway, this movie gives us a few returning features and serves as another pseudo-remake of a Series 3 episode. This time it's a remake of the first episode, drawing aspects from the same manga arc but replacing the characters involved with substitutes made for the movie. Namely Starmo being replaced by Terry Crown and Shinkai with Hwang, voiced by Kagliostro actor Taro Ishida and recurring actor Junpei Takiguchi respectively. Akio Otsuka is also here in the role of Andy. Hiroshi Kashiwaba and Hideki Tonokatsu come back in once more as writer and director respectively. This movie is also something of a trend breaker, as while there are women in the extended casts, none of them could really count as a leading lady, as they aren't really all that prominent. Akiko gives us an English vocal version of the ever-famous Lupin theme, also singing the ending theme, What's the Worry? Teamed up with San Francisco officer Terry Crown, Zenigata's headed to the casino cruise ship Machine Gun Kelly. He presents its manager Andy with a video calling card from Lupin, who plans to rob it as gambling's illegal here anyway, and this one in particular is owned by the mafia boss Luchino Meccano. Andy shows them how money is handled and stored, confident in his security. Nothing Zenigata hasn't heard the past few thousand times, of course. Suddenly, the ship's attacked by a sea monster. Zenigata races back to his helicopter, though the pilot's missing. 3 guesses who it was, and the first 2 don't count. Lupin's joined by the rest of the gang as they head to the vault. Zenigata and Terry head down themselves, the latter having slipped a stack of bills from the casino for himself, but they get stuck in the hallway by a security door. Goemon cuts through to the money and loads up with Fujiko. Lupin, however, is more interested in what's in their computer systems. Jigen shrugs it off and heads to prep their escape, passing by some men in black. The men head down to Lupin's location, but all they find is a smashed console. Lupin, who was hiding among the unconscious security, is left wondering who they were as Jigen secures the helicopter. They use a magnet attached to the helicopter to airlift the money away while everyone's dealing with the sea monster. Zenigata's got no time for that and shoots it right in the weak spot. He also hits one of the supports on the vault and causes it to fall from the helicopter. In a last-ditch effort, Lupin tosses something inside the vault before they flee. Zenigata's annoyed at Lupin's escape but also spots the money Terry swiped, expecting better of a man he's calling partner, as the men in black keep watch. Despite Lupin getting away, Zenigata and Terry are rewarded by San Francisco's Mayor Max, who's currently running for a presidential nomination, even though Zenigata's confused as to why they're being honoured for protecting money on an illegal casino. Meanwhile, Fujiko's angry at 2 months of planning going up in smoke in 2 minutes. Lupin then reveals that his real target was on their computer systems. The casino's all a front for monitoring the seabed, in particular a search for a gold-carrying ship known as the Yankee Slade, that's said to be 6,000 metres deep. She changes her tune pretty quickly, and even Goemon's on board for the money this could bring in. Zenigata keeps watch over a parade that Max is holding for his presidential bid alongside Terry. They discuss Lupin, as Zenigata's narrowed down his location. Terry suddenly takes his leave, making the excuse that he needs a drink. Lupin manages to locate the ship, right as Meccano's tracked his location. Gunfire turns to grenades, so Lupin jumps outside. While he gets down to the alley safely, Andy ambushes him. His usual tricks aren't fast enough either, as he's gassed. The others can only watch as Lupin's dragged away. He did leave the gang a memory card with the data in a wad of chewing gum. Meccano is revealed to be part of an underground group. They discuss Lupin and how he's no closer to acquiring the gold than they are. Their leader isn't pleased that it got leaked at all and shoots Meccano for the mistake. Andy steps up as his replacement, and Hwang, one of the group members, volunteers to torture info on the Yankee Slade out of Lupin. Lupin's pretty dismissive, so Hwang puts a helmet on him and smacks it. Lupin fakes some fear, but reveals he had some headphones on to cancel the noise. Huang's next technique involves putting a cobra inside the helmet. He has an anti-venom on hand, though Lupin only has 30 seconds before he dies. Lupin doesn't talk, so Huang's forced to inject it. Not that he needed to, as Lupin already managed to kill the cobra. Not his first time dealing with venomous snakes. Huang finally decides to strap Lupin to a rocket and send him sky high. Unfortunately for him, Jigen's managed to track him down by now. Lupin decides to apply some turnabout and straps Huang to the rocket. Huang's sent flying and his assistant, Hyena, is captured with Jigen's help. They're forced to let him go, partly because Jigen recognises him and knows he won't talk. Jigen tells Lupin the others are putting the data on the memory card to use, while he was able to use the GPS signal on there to track him. They climb out and discover the enemy base is none other than Alcatraz, once the inescapable prison, now just a tourist spot. Lupin and Jigen take some downtime in a Chinese restaurant, learning from a news report that Huang, who died from the rocket, was a high-ranking member of the Chinese mafia. Between that and his kidnappers being Italian mafia, Lupin speculates that his kidnappers were a criminal group known as the Secret Seven. No relation to Enid Blyton. Lupin then receives a call from a new girl, Monica, while we see that Goemon's interest in money is due to being a bodyguard for a supermodel, Susan. Some more men in black enter the restaurant and take it hostage. A man pulls a teacup off a table in a panic, which Lupin and Jigen use to escape. They race to a tram with the men in pursuit. Everyone else bolts, and Lupin helps the tram pick up speed by shooting one of the support cords. Zenigata and Terry also get wind of what's going on. Terry decides to split off and seek out Fujiko's hideout instead. Lupin reveals the thing he dropped on the machine gun Kelly's money was a radio wave spray that allows him to see where the money's being circulated and potentially track down Secret Seven members. One is dead ahead, none other than Mayor Max. Zenigata's waiting, so Jigen shoots at the rail to ram the barrier he's set up. They crash through the building ahead and land back on the tracks. Terry reaches Fujiko's hideout. He threatens to fry her with her radio, but she doesn't talk on the data. She jumps up to a light fixture when he kicks it in anyway, but she's still at his mercy. Not helping as it's Terry's already spotted her computer. Lupin's journey to track the other Secret Seven members comes to an end when he lands in Fujiko's hideout. By this point, she and Terry are missing, as is the computer. Zenigata's made it there too, and Terry comes back complaining that he lost Fujiko. They take the chance and charge Terry in a bid to escape. Zenigata catches Lupin, but has to stop Terry from plugging him in the head. Jigen meets with Goemon, discussing Lupin and Fujiko's situations, as well as expressing distrust of Susan. It's well founded, as she's also a Secret Seven member. Meanwhile, Lupin reads up on Marcano's death and asks Zenigata for his opinion, also noting he's got respect for the Inspector and his persistence, as it keeps him motivated to keep up his skills. While he sleeps, Terry approaches his cell. He takes aim at Lupin thinking he's still sleeping, noting he should have settled for the casino's money. Lupin disarms him, realising he's not just a member but also the leader of the Secret Seven. Terry threatens to get the entire prison on Lupin if he tries anything. He then pulls out a Derringer and shoots him point blank. Following this, he places the gun in Lupin's hand to make it look like he shot himself before calling for the guards. Zenigata meets with Terry in the morgue, asking to be left alone to pay his respects. He already knows Lupin's still alive, but Lupin warns that Terry's watching through surveillance. He survived thanks to switching out the Derringer bullet with a blank and some liberal use of makeup. He also reveals Terry's identity, so they call a truce to bring him down. Lupin's body is transported back to Japan for last rites. This is all just so they can talk more freely, of course. The truce starts breaking down when Lupin acts flighty about why Terry's after him at all. Lupin hears something in the middle of it, and finds a bomb in the car. They spot a helicopter following, and realise if the timer's defused, Terry will just activate it by remote. Lupin directs Zenigata to the pavement and drops in a manhole to save him. He then drives to a lake in hopes of cushioning the bomb's blast. Terry heads back to Alcatraz, learning Susan is handling Jigen and Goemon. The seven also discuss Fujiko joining them, and confirm that their scientist Reggie has designed a deep-sea vessel that can handle 6,000 meters of water pressure. Zenigata heads to the island, but the same guard claims not to know anyone called Terry, neither of them noticing the helicopter's been rigged with C4. Terry figures Fujiko will just betray them as he notes to Andy, but either way she's disposable and won't be getting a cut of the gold she retrieves. Zenigata continues snooping around the prison, inadvertently joining a tourist group. While discussing the significance of Alcatraz closing in 1963 and the Kennedy assassination's potential ties, Zenigata notices one tourist sounds rather familiar. Relieved that Lupin survived the bomb blast, he chases him outside just in time to see Max being blown up in the helicopter. While en route to the island, Susan shows her true colours to Jigen and Goemon as Hyena also boards their boats. Neither of the Secret Seven members end up a match, however. Meeting with Lupin on the island, the gang head back to the room where Huang initially tortured him. Goemon cuts through the floor and they discover an underground city beneath. Lupin explains that this is the Under Alcatraz, a city that allowed the criminal underground to continue their operations. The Kennedys shutting it down was what led to their assassinations, as the FBI and CIA had investment in the city themselves. Fujiko reaches the Yankee Slade, which does indeed have a stack of gold. Zenigata's investigating underground and discovers one of the men in black. He's revealed to be one of the group planting the C4, throwing some Zenigata's way. Zenigata tosses it away, accidentally taking out another man with it. Having felt the blast, Reggie instructs Fujiko on acquiring the gold as soon as possible while Terry rushes to meet up with Andy. The gang take this chance to take out Reggie and contact Fujiko to tell her to hurry as the water pressure is causing the vessel to buckle. Thankfully he can remotely operate the sub to return to them. Terry catches up to Andy and shoots the man in black. Lupin catches up and explains that it all comes back to the JFK assassination. The Yankee Slade's gold is all a front, containing Lupin's real target, documents and evidence on the truth behind the Kennedy assassination, which won't become declassified until 2039. While this happens, Zenigata fights another man in black and discovers a badge revealing them as CIA. Terry's stake in this is that his father was the one to dump the gold to begin with, planning to use it for his own ends. Andy and Terry engage in a shootout with the gang. Fujiko's also got her own problem as the gold's falling back to the bottom of the sea as she surfaces. Jigen manages to sneak up and counter Andy, as quality of skill will nearly always beat out quantity of bullets. Zenigata catches up to Terry just as the agent he shots detonates a C4. As everyone tries to escape, Zenigata jumps Terry, but he gets the upper hand. Zenigata says to just shoot through him if it means taking Terry down, but Lupin makes a shot at Terry's shoulder. Zenigata's freed and engages in a standoff with Terry. He comes out on top and moves in to make the arrest. Fujiko's vessel surfaces, so the gang make their escape and wish Zenigata luck. Karma gets to Terry as a bell tower collapses on him thanks to the explosions intensifying. As Alcatraz burns in the distance, Fujiko reveals she only has one gold bar. Unfortunately, it's fake, containing the fabled evidence on the Kennedy assassination. Zenigata surfaces, and the gang are forced to swim for it to escape. Time passes and Lupin meets with Monica, who's revealed to be the reason he got the Kennedy evidence as she was writing a thesis on him. She changed her mind in the interim and decided being a housewife was a better path for her. The CIA then make an attack on the gang, so Lupin tosses the gold bar over the Golden Gate Bridge to free themselves of that particular pressure. Of course, that'll never stop Zenigata from giving up the chase. This movie serves as the first to use fully digital animation. Early digital tends to look a bit too clean and cold in my eyes, partly because of the emphasis on the blue in the RGB spectrum, but that aside, overall there's nothing too standout bad here. Seems to go for some rather silly looking expressions in a couple of scenes though. More standard anime than you'd usually see in Lupin. In terms of story, it feels more than most like a TV episode, likely partly down to the breaking of the trend of leading ladies. Sometimes it's nice to break away from the standard, and here it works to keep the focus on the gang as a whole. Kashiwabara seems to enjoy his underground American conspiracies given some of the movies and episodes he's written for, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy a good conspiracy story every now and then. Lord knows how the CIA would be able to cover up actually blowing up Alcatraz in reality though. One issue is that the Secret Seven as a whole were a bit underdeveloped. They certainly had potential as characters, Chicken having ties to one of them and Gaimon working for another as examples, but they don't really get a whole lot of screen time. Andy replacing Marcano seems like it was going to go somewhere, but then he disappears until the final act. Same goes for Max and the presidential run just cutting off with an explosion. Huang dying in pretty much his opening scene was unexpected too, though in that case it was almost darkly humorous that a comedic exit like he had outright led to him being announced dead in the next scene. With that said, Terry did serve well as the main antagonist here. He played off Zenigata quite well as the unorthodox cop that was outright corrupt for one thing. Plus he did manage to get Lupin almost dead to rights on a couple of occasions, only being stopped by either Zenigata himself or through Lupin being wise to his tricks. Rather funny that both this and the previous movie had a Lupin death fake out, even though Zenigata didn't buy it this time round. Zenigata as a whole got a good role really, working to keep what he saw as a partner acting out of line on the straight and narrow, and managing to keep up with Lupin to a relatively competent level. Lupin himself acknowledging as much when he says that Zenigata's a rival he respects more than any. Dark in some aspects, comedic in others, and managing to get the balance down overall, so once more a verdict of a fun enough watch. Next time, we revisit an old Series 1 antagonist with the return of the Magician. Until then,